All right, what's going on, everybody? It's a Wednesday here. The sun is shining. I hope it is for you as well. Welcome to another edition of the Modern Merchant Podcast. I am the VP of Marketing here at Flxpoint, Ben Frank, and today I am joined by Chris. Chris is the Director of E-commerce for Rifle Supply. If you're in the firearms industry or in the market for firearms, I expect you've heard of them. Big brand in this space, doing a lot of exciting stuff. So super pumped to have you. Chris, welcome to the Modern Merchant Podcast.
Hey, likewise. Thanks for having me, Ben. Really stoked to be on here, meet the team, and also connect with you and meet you as well. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a pleasure is all ours, I promise. So we'll jump right into it. But I think to get started, Chris, if you could tell people who may not have heard of Rifle Supply or may vaguely know a little bit about what you guys do. We were chatting a little bit before we started the podcast about some of the brand initiative you guys have, and then kind of what your role and what your focus is.
Awesome. So my role here is kind of like a growth role, but mainly what I'm responsible for is our e-commerce team, stack, and also customer experience as well, our customer service, customer experience team. Been with the company for about 1 year and 3 months. I came from, startup life before all the rug pulls, the bank rug pulls, but I've been in startups all my life. A little bit about Rifle Supply. We've been in business since 2015. We are a firearms retailer, manufacturer based in Huntington Beach, California. We specialize in retail sales, gunsmithing, laser engraving, Cerakoting, and just delivering an exceptional customer experience both in store and online. I think where we hit the mark is just ensuring people are provided that non-ego or leaving the ego at the door type of experience at a gun shop, which is kind of hard to find. So.
Love it. No, it is. And it's amazing to have just a really approachable, friendly, no ego, everybody's welcome in that kind of setting. And, I love the engravings you guys do. Love some of the custom stuff you do from a brand standpoint.
Nice.
I've been playing around with some of that, but that's awesome. So awesome. I know we'll get into it a little bit further. I appreciate you giving us the overview there.
Absolutely.
And then if we look at this year, obviously, things are ever changing, right? Coming from the startup world, it's always pivoting, right? It's trying to figure out, trying to balance all the different initiatives and all that stuff. But what are your top priorities as you move into the rest of this year and maybe beyond that?
I mean, this biggest priority within, I would say, the e-commerce portion is expanding our product feed, drop shipping capabilities, are just pretty much offering a one-stop shop, as my COO would say it. Justin Baca, shout him out. Is expanding our product categories and just product offering in general online. And that will just allow us to focus on growing our business nationwide and just refining our e-commerce, strategy so we can scale. We're at this tipping point where business, like locally, our local presence in California has been very steady, and there was a strong, huge explosive growth, I would say, for Rifle Supply within during COVID and post-COVID. I think everyone was just kind of at that state, kind of really at unease and just wanted to protect themselves against who knows what's going on in the world. Don't want to get into that because that's a whole nother conversation. But we've had this amazing explosive growth for the last 4 to 5 years locally and just with statewide, and just trying to really focus on scaling how we can help and provide that experience outside of California and just really making Rifle Supply that staple brand nationwide.
Awesome. No, I love to hear it. And COVID, obviously, a whole different time, right? I'm glad that we're past that. But there are after effects too, and I think that e-commerce obviously saw a huge, massive growth, right? On the Flxpoint side, I mean, we were here, we had front row seats, thankfully, to help a bunch of folks figure out how to expand the product line, how to get more suppliers onboarded, and also how to improve the online presence as well. So, it's great to see how that's continued, that trend's continued, and that just the prioritization of e-commerce. So. Awesome that you guys, obviously, I think you've done a really good job in general. You guys have a ton of great organic content. You rank really well. You're up there with some of the top, I think, firearms retailers from an e-com perspective in the US. And so, getting more additional suppliers and more products listed and all that fun stuff is only going to help. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. And I mean, obviously we use Ahrefs, so it's really important to know where we stack rank against those larger guys. And again, I see the gap, like in a sense of like the local businesses that are around us, and then just the gap from where these bigger brands are. I won't give them any shout outs, but yeah, I'm hoping to get us there. And we are very bullish as a team to get there as well.
Great. No, I love it. Love it. And I have a full confidence that you guys absolutely will. So well on your way. That's good. And then from a tech stack perspective, I mean, I have a good view of it, but the websites that you guys are on, CMS platform is BigCommerce. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, man, what a powerful tool. Again, I'm not trying to shout them out, but just BigCommerce goes hand in hand with Flxpoint. I'll just say that. The other products that we're kind of running to is Klaviyo for our email marketing and automation, HubSpot for customer engagement, no fraud. I just want to call that one out because that does help out with all the weird and whack orders, and then what helps our ShipStation and SearchSpring. I won't get into the weeds of all the other finite apps that we run, but in a nutshell, that's pretty much our what rolls up into BigCommerce.
Solid tech stack, man. It's solid. Great. Yeah, we love BigCommerce here. We will shout them out. Obviously, great platform. There are other great platforms, but BigCommerce is probably one of the most common ones we work with, particularly in this space, as well as a handful of other industries. But just a great tool. And then familiar with all the other ones. Obviously, HubSpot. We use that here as well. I've been a believer in HubSpot from I would say day one, not day one, but close to. It's a great tool. Yeah,
I actually implemented that prior workspaces, and I just remember my first time working with it, and it was like kind of that. All right, this is gonna work. Otherwise, I'm gonna be really blunt. Otherwise, you're not gonna be employed anymore type of moment. And thank goodness that it honestly helped us. It worked really well. So, but yeah, it's shout them out too. But I think, one more shout out to BigCommerce though is like I just love that, and Flxpoint is I just love how the both work together. I was already mentioned that, but honestly, like I love that there is no like limitations in the sense of what we do business wise, and they're in full support of you and your business, regardless of what industry you're in. But yeah, kudos to both of you guys for that, man.
Appreciate it, Chris. Yeah, we love BigCommerce, have a really good relationship with them. Co-sponsored a happy hour. We were at SHOT Show.
Yeah.
We're doing another one at a trade show coming up. So yeah, they're fantastic, and it's a powerful platform. I mean, we won't say any names, but there's there's a lot of like cookie cutter stuff out there that can kind of maybe get people started, which is great if that's what they're looking for. But yeah, from just a power perspective, from a customization, sky's the limit, and that's the beautiful part about it. It's as simple or as complex as you need it to be. And that's right in line with who we are as a business and what we stand for, obviously with the flexible and Flxpoint. Yeah.
And I think, again, but Flxpoint in general, I think if you can think it, like you guys can make it happen. That's what I've loved so far, but I'm sure we'll probably get into that a little bit later.
Hey, as much as we want to get into that early, we can, Chris. I'll let you steer the whole thing.
I love it.
No, but it's great. And happy to hear things are going well. It's a solid tech stack. I mean, you really got the right pieces in place, so that's awesome.
Thanks.
It's half the battle, right?
It is definitely half the battle, and it's like I feel bad because when I'm in my office and I'm just sitting there, and I'm not sitting there. It looks like I'm sitting there, right? Because they're only seeing my face, not what's on my screen. It's just like, well, I think for anybody out there who manages anyone in tech, it's just like, think of it as whoever's in charge of your tech stack is managing like over 30 different tools, that if one of those tools tends to break or there's something wrong, guess what? That's your business, right? So that's, and another way to look at it is anyone that's using those tools to operate or to perform their day to day is, they're my customers internally, right? That's how I kind of like to paint the landscape here. Just coming from tech and then segueing into something a little bit way off the scale from that. It's been fun. my team always gives me a lot of good grief about it, but man, I love it. So
No, it's great. I love it too. It's we could sit here and nerd out about tech and all that
dude,
stuff. I've played a lot in the startup world and SaaS and worked in a HubSpot agency. So you're exactly right, though. I mean, it's powerful, right? And it's funny because it's one of those things that when everything's going exactly how you want it to, nobody really notices, right? It's like it's great. With the
someone
second,
updates and it breaks, or you never know, or like a new feature's rolled out and you might have like forgotten about it, or you just skimmed past it in your inbox and it's like, oh crap, gotta pivot to that, or gotta make it work, or what's the fix for that? So,
yeah, it's a full-time job, that's for sure, and great when it's all running in the background too. So that's awesome. Well, as we talk tech stack and we get into some of the details of process and operational stuff, tell me a little bit about what was your process like, and just internally dealing with e-com operations and everything else that Flexpoint is really helping with today. What was it like before you brought us on?
So before we brought on Flexpoint, we're mainly using Flexpoint for our distributor feeds. We didn't have a solution, to tell you the truth. When I onboarded, it would have been the SHOT Show of 2024. And I just made a suggestion to say, hey, like, I think I need to go to this because there's going to be many vendors in the space. And I want to familiarize myself with, who's in the playing field, what's going on, what will work, what won't work. And came across a lot, right? I came back with just like a plethora of information. But to recap what, the question is, like, we didn't have a process. We weren't using distributor feeds. We didn't have a process. We didn't have a solution for that. Mainly everything was just organic on our website. Traffic was fed through any of our social channels or emailing lists, email marketing. And, we were very wary that, aware that unlocking distributor feeds would obviously grow our business in this different facet. But we attempted to use, old-fashioned FTP feed into BigCommerce, and we did try it and ended up messing up everything. And I think the person that I succeeded had to just, reorganize everything post that. But obviously, you can't make that happen unless you have a tool, and the best tool, Flexpoint, to make that happen. But yeah, it's completely unobtainable.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, it's a lot. How many? We don't have to get into specifics, but if you want to just provide a range, but how many products do you think you were managing in total manually? You guys were before we came on.
I would say 8,000.
Yeah,
and then
that's a lot.
Right? And then now we are about to onboard. Well, we did like a phased kind of rollout just to prove the validity of like, hey, are we going the right pathway with this? We rolled out 5,000 products, and then we're about to onboard another 25,000 products. So we'll essentially like 40,000 SKUs on our website. So really, really excited for that.
Yeah, that's a ton of growth. I mean, it's to 4x it basically, and a relatively short amount of time. That's super exciting.
Yeah,
and certainly would have been an extremely daunting task to do via either an old-fashioned FTP setup or manually.
let's just say that the titles that for the first 3,000 to 5,000 products, because the titles are really just wonky. Just my team and I updating the titles for 5,000 products took us about a month to do.
Oof.
Manually.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Scraping in manually, like fitting puzzles together. And it was like a project that we would do, not like, it wasn't from like, okay, 8 hours, we come into our shop, and this is what we're going to work on for the next 8 hours. But it was like, we'd put in like a couple hours a day at it. But yeah.
I mean, unless it's the only thing you have to do, and for just about everybody, that's not the case, right? It's like it's the last thing you want to do. We should just have like this, right?
3 or 4 hats here, man. So, but it's fun. It's what keeps us on our toes. So,
yeah, no, that's great. I mean, to save that amount of time, and if you continued at that pace to try and go from where you were to 35, 40K, months and months and months, right, to get it all up there.
I would think, yeah, I don't even want to think about that because it just gives me a headache. But man, I honestly just like the time. I mean, I think even with like pricing too, like, we're having to
Yeah,
adjust, pricing because our vendors and our distributors are providing, their costs are raising. So we can't operate at a loss, right? So just even
yeah,
updating, like just going, okay, what do I want to update all these products to? But bam, FlexPoint honestly owns that for us. And an exercise that would normally take like a week to do, like a project to do,
mm,
like FlexPoint allows us to do that in like a matter of mere minutes or whatever the sync, however long it takes to sync to say, hey, I'm going to start and then complete.
love it. Weeks to minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. That's the mission of our platform, right? We're trying to save people as much time as possible, so you guys can focus on what's actually important, which is great. I'm glad it's working that way for you. Awesome, man. Well, I know. So from a listing standpoint, we talk product management, all that stuff. So pricing, obviously, that's a big one. If and prices are going to fluctuate. We all know that it's going to continue and continue. And if you have 35,000, you miss 10% of them, and you're at a loss for those. Those orders that come through, whatever your conversion rate is, it adds up over time. So super. I mean, glad we could help with it.
Yeah.
That's really it makes us happy, right? That's why we're here.
And then during our like validation phase, I mean, it was obviously like a scaled approach. We're processing like it went to 50 and then every month it's doubled, and we're kind of plateaued right now at roughly around 300 to 400 orders that are being processed. And these are just, by the way, our drop ship or distributor feed orders, by the way. We're plateaued, but I honestly think, come the holiday season and then just come tax season, I think post tax season, that's when everyone will start to, start shopping and get out there. And but yeah, no, I think we plateaued around 400 orders currently, but honestly, just generating an average of like anywhere from 50 to like $90,000 passive income monthly. I mean, I think that's the perspective that, what we need to, how we need to look at it. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get into different numbers later, but I mean, I'm just really excited to see that order volume just jump and grow month over month as we continue to roll out the number of products. So
Absolutely. I mean, if the conversion rates hold for what you guys are at, to get into those specifics, but
yeah,
add another 25K products, like that's a massive game changer, massive opportunity. And then of course you get all the SEO power
yep.
behind that
I
too to bring additional people to the site.
would
So yeah,
love to see that too as well. Like it's just going to be like, okay, like how'd you go from here to here, and then we're now crawling
yeah,
like 30,000 pages versus the 10 or 15,000 that we have now. But yeah, no, I'm super excited for that.
yeah, that's gonna be great. I'm excited for you. I'm gonna be watching. Well, I'm gonna check in with you every month. Once everything's up to date, I'll just check in with you. I'll have a note. All right, time to get with Chris and see how things
Please
are
do,
going.
man. I mean, anytime, man. I mean, you obviously can tell that I'm a huge promoter of FlexPoint, man. Like, I think that in any way, shape, or form, I even have friends that are like in the car industry, and I'm like, well, you sell these parts, and you're working through one or two distributors that I know that are on FlexPoint. I was like, have you considered this tool, to help you out? Or I have another friend where he's working with the distributors, and at the time I think Justin or Adam might have told me that they can, from one point to another point, you guys can help automate that. And I was like, hey, have you guys thought about any chance that I mean, I think the cool thing, what I'm trying to say is, in a nutshell, is FlexPoint works for all industries in any way, shape, or form. So, but yeah, and
Love it.
not, yeah,
Yeah, we appreciate it, obviously, and automotive is big for us. It's a space that we're super familiar with. We got some really great teammates here who've spent a lot of time in that space personally on the retail side, so they really understand it. Now, obviously, we understand the data limitations. That's the biggest thing with automotive.
yeah,
Like if and for the audience that's listening here, if you think it's bad in insert other industry, automotive probably has it the worst, right? It's just it's
it's
crazy.
dude. I mean, just seeing the data. I mean, God, man. I mean, even I would love to go. That's a whole nother podcast, probably just talking deep
Yeah,
diving the data, like the data. But honest, again, that honestly speaks to like how how much of a better experience you can provide your customer, right? If you're able
yeah.
to see those types of things. But I mean, most of the time we don't, because we are so limited to just what ball's in front of us. So
Very much so, yeah. It's you get tunnel vision, and that's not a bad thing. I think there's a beautiful element to being in the moment and focusing on what's in front of you and the task at hand. But you're exactly right. There's a lot. There's a lot out there, and I mean, we don't obviously. Our goal today is not to talk automotive, but it is it is an exciting space, and
yeah,
we love it. We're at SEMA every year, and if you're listening and you got an automotive retail store, you're trying to get an e-commerce, or you got an e-commerce business and you need some help, we can help with the data problems and a whole lot more. So,
yeah,
absolutely awesome. Well, let's talk journey a little bit. So we touched on it. You went to SHOT. Not surprised you came back with a whole list of potential vendors, not just in what we do, obviously, but all kinds of stuff. SHOT's insanely large. I mean,
yeah,
thousands of vendors, thousands of booths to go to, ranging from tech partners to typical partners to obviously suppliers, distributors, and everything in between, the retailers, manufacturers, the whole nine yards. But yeah, what was your search like? I know you maybe looked at a couple different tools, but what ultimately led you
yeah.
to FlexPoint?
Oh man, what a journey. So like as I mentioned earlier, um, shot shot show 2024, man, unlocked like who the real players were. I'm talking about solutions, by the way, not like other local businesses or vendors. I'm talking about actual tech vendors. Literally laid out the landscape for us, and I'm so glad that I was able to go. And then I was tasked with finding a very viable like drop shipping partner. And personally, like I contacted over 12 to 14 vendors. And then we landed on FlexPoint, right? As a
Yeah,
solution. And a lot of those other vendors in there were like all-in-one solutions, I guess you can say, that
yeah,
they were platforms. I wasn't looking for that because for those that are just a little bit of advice for those that are out or who do listen to this is when you're in an all-in-one solution, you're kind of just locked into that solution, and it doesn't allow you to scale or operate or use like really powerful tools like FlexPoint to help grow your business. Eventually, you reach this growing or this growth point or this tipping point where do you grow or do you stay at the same pace? When you're
yeah,
using those platforms, you're literally handcuffed to that platform. And when you do decide to segue out of those platforms, it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on what your business size and volume is. I'm not trying to knock on the other guys that are out there, but that was my like. Thankfully, we were already on BigCommerce, and as I mentioned, the other 8 or 9, 10 applications that we use that our tech stack. But I did not want like I'm so glad that our tech stack isn't underneath one umbrella because we wouldn't be able to find a partner like you guys. With FlexPoint, you have so much flexibility, and versus the other platforms because I think it was like, hey, you flip a switch, you log in, and everything's coming in. Versus if you had a choice or not, there's no way to select unique SKU numbers for your drop shipping items or your product feed items. There's no differentiators. Again, for me, I just looked at it from a, hey, how's this going to scale? I I don't think most people look at it from that perspective of how do you scale or how do you roll this out and scale. It's always like, okay, this fits our budget, this fits our immediate need. Let's sign on, and I feel confident saying that because I was once in that space, right, where you're just like, wow, that looks really shiny, that looks really beautiful, and it's affordable. Let's lock it down. Let's land with it, right? And I think
mm-hmm.
that based on my experience, I've seen not the shortcut route, but I just know what happens when you're not launching or rolling out the best platform or solution available for your whatever brand you're supporting at that time. But with FlexPoint, we were able to seamlessly integrate drop shipping into our existing tech stack without being like locked into a single ecosystem. So it just worked hand in hand for us.
That's awesome. No, I really appreciate you sharing that. And we've heard similar feedback from other folks that did exactly what you're talking about. And this is obviously we're not knocking that either. You know, you make the decisions based on the data that you have in the situation that you're in, and that's totally fine. Some of those all-in-one platforms will work for a while, you know, quite some time for businesses, and other times you're ready to scale, like you guys were, right? Where if you've done something like a solution, you would have quickly hit your limit, and you had to flip, right, pretty quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hear it all the time. It's like, you know, you can, the kind of cookie cutter out of the box stuff, but very little customization, very little flexibility. And, you know, again, if it's a small operation, it might be fun. If you're trying to go from, you know, a handful of thousand, let's call it 10,000 products to 40,000 and really make a splash and really increase your presence, then yeah, obviously you want something that's going to be able to scale with you. And I think, I mean, my experience, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, Chris, but I've seen a shift where it seems like there was a mindset maybe a few years ago where I think that predominantly people were looking for hey, here's my budget, here's what I need to do, let's knock it out, that way I can move on to the next thing, or, you know, just whatever we can get by on. But I feel like in general, people are a little bit more future focused these days. I think that the advancements in technology and just where we've really come from a feature standpoint, compatibility, integration standpoint, API connections are better than they've ever been. All those things have just allowed us to do more than we could in the past. And so I've seen a lot more people taking the approach that you took, where does this check the scalability box, you know, versus just, it's got everything I need for now and let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, and no one knows, everyone wishes that their business goes from like 5 to, I'd say 100,000 or 1 million following, right?
Yeah.
I think that, you know, I think that the people are just unaware of the offerings of different products that are, especially in our space. It's pretty intimidating for other, you know, humans to just kind of say, hey, like, why do I need 20 different things to manage one thing versus why don't I just sign up with that? I think more technical, or just humans that are familiar with tech in familiar or in unfamiliar spaces to be able to influence is what this industry is kind of missing out on. I would say it's more industry based. Because I even have friends, I had one or two friends that I used to work with actually were like investors in other firearm shops. And unfortunately, they did sign up with one of those all-in-one platforms. And I hopped on a call with him because he's like, hey, I heard that, you know, you're working for this brand and XYZ. And just after kind of shooting the crap with him and just catching up with him, he was kind of telling me like his experience in the space and how familiar, like, you know, how his knowledge is in the firearm industry. I was like completely blown away. But I think where, you know, he appreciated just the genuine feedback was just his limitation to just understanding tech. But again, that's why you want to partner with or hire and partner with like great people and place good people on your team who are going to be able to influence making those good decisions. Because there is the platform and app offering out there is so fragmented. I even have a tough time of choosing, you know, what's going to be valid or what's not going to be valid. But I think just, you know, to kind of summarize what you brought up is partner and hire the right people so that they're making these good choices for you. And don't look at their sound. No, I'm joking. Don't look at as closing the door. Like, but you know, like if I think it was just very rare for me to also fall into the space because one of my best friends is married to our COO, so it kind of fit hand in hand. I mean, after the rug pull, the startup rug pull, I just kind of landed here, but it was just really ironic. And I think that every company should have someone experienced, especially if they're Not trying to toot my horn, by the way, but I just honestly, just hire someone who's experienced or partner with an agency or a consultant that's experienced, and just make sure your goals are aligned, because there's a lot out there, man, and it can be very, very, very confusing, and just speak to a lot of people and hear what their thoughts are, and obviously if that's an alignment of like where you're at growth wise, then their feedback should be invaluable.
Love it, man. Yeah, it's always try and elevate the room, right, or the team, and with different ideas, different experience. And I think this day and age, I mean, probably everyone that's listening to this later will probably agree. But tech is so important, and experiencing tech is so important, especially if you're looking at whether that's platform side, whether that's CRM side, whether it's all these different things. Like especially when we start talking about e-commerce, right? It's everything.
Yeah.
Everything runs through tech. So couldn't agree more, and I'm glad that that you joined the team and you're rocking and rolling over there. So, and I know they're happy to have you.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, speaking of teams, let's talk a little bit about your onboarding experience and working with our team there. How did that go for you? Have any feedback for us? Any hiccups? Any shout outs to make?
Huge shout out to Adam and Justin. Obviously I remember their names because they left such a great imprint on my onboarding experience. And again, like when we onboarded, it was so quick, and it was like, crap, like I don't even think I have this mapped out yet, because I like to map everything. I'd like to be prepared. But as I mentioned, Flxpoint was a new tool for me in a sense of learning and what it does and what its capabilities are. I was pretty overwhelmed because it is pretty technical, but like anything else, once you start to use it, it's like second nature now. It's like I use an iPhone, and if someone gave me an Android, there would be a learning curve, right?
Same.
Hey, like how the hell do I even just make a call on this thing, or where are my contacts at? It was that in the sense of technicality. It wasn't in a sense that it was there's anything wrong with the UI or anything, but like I said, Adam and Justin walked me through the entire process, was very, very detailed, ensuring that I was confident on what was being implemented, what would be a good baseline to be started, what to do, what not to do. And they were very, very considerate about, each milestone that I had for this rollout, because I didn't want to just go all in. I'm sure you probably know by now that I'm not that type of person that just wants to throw the ball from freaking one end zone to the other end zone. I just go in steps and phases.
Yeah.
But they're very, very considerate of that, and I really appreciate that. But their support and their patience throughout everything was seamless, man. It only allowed me to obviously learn the platform and navigate it inside and out.
That's awesome. No, love to hear it. And Adam and Justin are fantastic. They're in the office today. I told them we were meeting for this podcast. Nice. They're like, "Oh, let's tell Chris we said what's up." I know Justin saw you at Shop.
Yeah.
So they really loved working with you on the project and continue to work with you. So that's great. Appreciate you sharing your experience.
I have to have a call with them after this. So.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
To catch up.
Nice.
So yeah, and that speaks volume. That speaks like the fact that those channels are open just speaks volume of what Flxpoint provides customers. So.
Yeah, we love it. I know every company, or at least pretends to say or tries to say, that we're all about customers, and that's why we built the product. That's why we're here. We're just a bunch of e-commerce nerds that are super passionate about this space and passionate about growth and all that stuff, and really just love our customers, man. So as much as we can, we want to spend time with you. So I'm super happy you get to talk to Adam. I'll tell Justin, obviously, you said hello as well. Let's go.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I know how I'm going to combine a couple, I think, questions into one here. I know that you guys are looking into other elements of the Flxpoint software. So I'll combine the kind of two questions we talked about. One of what successes have you seen with the platform? We talked a little bit about it already. And then also, what are you looking into? What other features are you looking into, or ways to expand as you move forward beyond obviously the additional products that we discussed?
Absolutely. So to hit on the first successes, I guess. I mean, I think I brought out the different passive revenues earlier, but I think the way people should frame it. So just based out of the 3,000 to 5,000 products that we added, I would let's just say 4,000 products to meet in the middle. That
Yeah.
as a test period. Once that was done, I went. So I went line by line. I was like, okay, well, it just made an export, and then I used my assistant ChatGPT to calculate it with me. But so for an example, like SKU A, there was 5, and the cost would be $100, and then SKU B would be 10, and it would cost 50. I took every SKU that that I had imported into our online store, and whatever the inventory number was and cost value was, I calculated it, and I was blown away by how much that was worth. I mean, it was $300 million worth of product that I added to our web store. And I think when I was talking to Travis and Justin at SHOT Show, they're like, "Wait a minute, you looked at it from this perspective," and they were like, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not going to bore you with the detail, bore you with why, but honestly, like that's how we should be looking at it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that not looking at the costs of just everything and just being able to showcase that to my CEO or to Justin and John Kukio. Shout out to John, he's our CEO.
Hmm.
They're like, yeah, this absolutely makes sense, because obviously that's $300 million we didn't have to buy in inventory, right? If we were to just acquire everything that was offered right then and there. I mean, no one's going to acquire 1,000 of this, but it then goes to say, hey, like we're ready to service the nation, right? We're not just here to
Yeah.
service, local and statewide. We can be this outfit that also helps everybody else and provide, the best experience possible.
Love it. No, that's fantastic. And I love that you look at it that way, because I think that, when I'm talking about it, and a lot of times when we do these interviews and things like that, it's exactly the right way to look at it. It's,
Mm-hmm.
how would you be able to do that without a drop shipping component, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to sit on all that. Nobody has $300 million. And even if you did, it's egregiously terrible use of capital. Like, you know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
To go and do that. But it's great. And it's also from just a cash on the table. You know what I mean? Like somebody looking for those products that may not have been listed before, you might be out of stock, no way for them to purchase it if you don't have another way to fulfill it. Those maybe they could back order it, but most people, as you and I both know, if I go to a website particularly, and I'm like, all right, I'm looking for this particular product, it's on back order, I'm going to go look somewhere else,
Yeah.
right? Or even if it's not in stock ready to ship, I'm going to go look somewhere else. So it's huge, but I love that you did that and you actually calculated the amount. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, but I mean, even if you wanted to figure out like what that would be worth if we sold all that product, I mean, just put your margin in and that you have it. But I mean, that's that's huge, in the sense of like just goals, like personal goal and milestones. So I really like to reflect on that, because it's big, and I think that if anyone that is using FlexPoint and using their distributor feeds, even though the stress or product and distributor feeds, even though the stress of rollout and project planning and not having enough resources, I think you should really reflect on that goal, that milestone, once you do add all those products to your website, because that's huge, and that definitely puts your brand or your company that you're trying to build in the space of eventually replacing her, becoming that next bigger player in the game. So
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's a great way to look at it. I think from regional, or even statewide, to the ability to get in on a national level. And
yep.
obviously, there's a lot that goes into it, but it can be a game changer for sure. So that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. This has been great. I think we'll do a couple more questions. I know we're at the very end here. I don't want to take up
Cool.
all your time. I know you got to meet with Adam
No,
after this, so
Yeah.
He'll come knocking on my door like, "Hey, come on, I want to,
Can you
I
let
want to meet
me
with
off?
Chris." But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's been great. I think that the next one I'd ask you is just if you have, do you have any tips or tricks for anybody that's maybe looking into a solution like FlexPoint or
Yeah, I think
recommendations?
I mean couple things and then I'll say like I'll kind of go in and out of things. But I think obviously know where you want to go. That's the biggest tip. Excuse me. But just navigating through FlexPoint, I would say, your understand, your source, your catalog, and then the three different major buckets. Understand that really well. Navigate through them very frequently. Use filters like crazy. It helps you manage everything a lot easier. Um, Save customizable views. I like looking at different properties, or properties meaning whatever data is available,
Hmm.
in a sense of how I'm merchandising or what I'm looking for, or what we're trying to roll out or push to roll out. That helps out a lot. But I think the biggest thing is, learn, or hop on a call with Adam or Justin, or the support team.
Yeah.
Take a deep dive and have someone walk you through the automation and workflows so you can really tweak your efficiencies, because that can drastically improve your process once you get it dialed in. And yeah, I think once we pass this third milestone, what I'm really excited for is just the whole the warehousing automation.
Yeah.
That was like stars in my eyes. I think when we were, when we were touching base to onboard FlexPoint, that was like, whoa, like even in the sense of like your own like physical inventory, like that was really mind blowing that FlexPoint can manage that for us. So
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate the feedback there. Yeah, it's interesting because you touched on it, the warehousing element. I mean, there's so much to it, right? Like you do have the dropship component, additional products. You've got the listing management, which makes that a whole lot easier, especially if you've got multi-channel. Right?
yeah,
The warehouse order fulfillment and that routing process, the ability to go by rules, like what's closest, right? Prioritize products if you got duplicate products from multiple suppliers or even owned inventory. What do I want to sell first, and how do we route that? There's just where do they order it from and what's closest to them to minimize shipping costs. There's a lot, a
yeah,
whole lot underneath the platform depending
yeah,
on where you look. So,
and and let FlexPoint, let FlexPoint manage that for you and automate that for you. And usually when you hear automation, it's like, oh crap, what's going to break downstream?
yeah,
I just love also, let me also shout that out. I love that FlexPoint has also really thought out of like, not just like that immediate, that immediate, I guess, work or process or step that you need automated, but all the way downstream. I mean, you're not going to have to worry about anything breaking. I mean, at least in our industry or how we have things set up, it's like, whoa, well, what's going to happen? And they're like, oh, well, just just align this, or just like let's just prioritize this, and that will fix it. But I think that the time saved for strategic work, that's one thing that I really appreciate about FlexPoint, because, as I said, like the merchandising side of it is like I can go in there and go, okay, like what do we need? But then it allows us to plan out like what our marketing and our ad strategy looks like. And then
yeah,
also, I think the biggest call out is like being there for my team, and making sure that they have a North Star, and they're, being guided, and they have the resources they need. Like, all in all, like, that's Flex. Thank you. Like, seriously, thank you.
we're happy to do it, Chris. Thank
Yeah, of
you. Honestly,
course.
it's what's the point of building features if no one's going to use them and love them? And so, that's exactly what we do. It's a super awesome moment for us when you get your hands into it, and it does simplify things, and it does allow you to focus on strategy over just this monotonous day-to-day stuff. It lets you get home for dinner in time, or
Yeah.
you not have crazy work schedules and things like that on top of what you're already doing because you're already juggling it.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
that's the mission, man. Awesome. Well, like this has been great, man. I'd say I'm going to talk with you for the next hour. I think we could just get nerd out about all kinds of different systems, tech, background, all kinds of fun stuff. But I think the last thing I'd ask you, and this is more for just the industry as a whole, I think. But for anybody that's watching this that either owns a gun shop or has a e-commerce business they're trying to grow, or a combination of both, what recommendations would you have for them based on what you're seeing in the industry, trends, things like that?
Man, I would say obviously focus on your tech stack, right? And improving that to no one everyone needs to like ensure that they're growing that backbone. I want to say that it is the backbone of every business, and it is literally the backbone of your business. And don't focus too much on your storefront, but really, betting on what your tech stack looks like and rolling out solutions like Flexpoint, and not worrying about your physical inventory, and um, we're really relying on just your product offering that your distributors are just saying, hey, like there's this facet of your business that we want to just help grow, really leverage that. But yeah, this industry it's kind of a wild one, and all the different rules and regulations and whatnot. But
Yeah.
um, what I like to do is, think about how we like what if that curtain isn't there? Like, what are we gonna do, right? But always be
Mhm.
prepared. And it honestly doesn't hurt to, if you're looking for different solutions. It honestly doesn't hurt for you to size, or it doesn't cost you anything to size and do your due diligence on what's out there. And I think
Yeah.
that you should be prepared for that. And a lot of the times sales reps are not, the great ones are there to always be there and say, hey, like, what are you up to? Like, can we catch up? As opposed to
Yeah.
trying to sell you something and just know where, the state of your business is, or wanting to do business reviews with you so that you can implement it at the right time. So I won't shout out their name, but there is a product that we've been in touch with since I've started here, and it's an ERP solution, by the way. Nothing,
No,
nothing
no, no.
compared to
That's-
Flexpoint, but we've been in talks with them since I've been here, and they understand that those are the types of relationships that I value, and that's very much
yeah.
how Flexpoint was for us as well. That's why I'm bringing it up, for us when we were onboarding, because it was like, hey, like when the time is right, you need to know when you're going to pull that trigger, and you need to be aligned with that reliable partner so that you
Yeah.
can make moves happen quickly. And I'm so blessed to have just had that open line of communication with you guys, because you guys made onboarding fast, easy, and met very, very, very crazy expectations. So thank you for that. But yeah, that's my
That's
advice.
awesome.
That'd be my advice.
That's great, Chris. No, love it. And I'm with you. Those are the types of, whenever I'm looking for a solutions partner, the same deal, right? Like you want somebody that's going to be more consultative than anything else. We're like, tell me about your goals and what you're trying to do, and
Yeah.
let's partner up on it. And you know what? Even if you don't decide to move forward with Flexpoint or ERP or whatever it might be, like let's
Yeah.
keep in touch, because you
Yeah.
never know. You know what I mean? We might be able to help you down the road. So love it, man. Love it. Well, this has been great. I mean, I super appreciate the time.